Thanks for coming and your brief report. We all know that the fentanyl problem is a big one and affects so many people. Now, you mentioned earlier that you're not only working with the United States, you're also working with our international partners. Can you also elaborate on that?
Indeed. Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. In fact, as you understand, and as we've already talked about, the trade in illicit drugs and fentanyl in particular is one that's transnational in nature, by definition, then meaning more and outside of Canada. As a consequence, myself and colleagues here, many are sitting at the table. Last month, we were in Mexico, where we met with senior Mexican officials, security officials, et cetera, to discuss about how we actually can work together to combat this trade. And that will culminate in further discussions trilaterally here in Canada in the next couple months or so between Canada, U.S., and Mexico. I've also had interactions, many, with European officials for the European Drug Agency. Again, trying to share best practices, understand what's working and what's not, what's the nature of the crime, what's the nature of the trade. Mr. Chair, this global transnational organized crime, in particular drug traffickers, changed the way they do business rapidly. And as a consequence, it's very important that we stay on top of it. Sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to interrupt. So what has been identified as the weakness in the Canadian system in terms of intercepting or catching those drug kingpins?
It's a complex question. That I think deserves a complex answer, or not. It's not a simple. If there was a simple answer to that complex question, to the complex problem, it would have been solved. The transnational nature of crime is that different modalities will be used at any given time, whether it's crypto, whether it's through the dark web. Whether it's traditional supply routes, for instance. There is a number of different ways that drugs move between and through Canada all the time. So what clearly what's important is that we remain in close collaboration and communication, both domestically between agencies here that are at this table and other agencies that are tasked with combating this crime around the world. Those are the important elements of why the organizations actually have to work together.
Okay. Now, so very often after your office has been set up, the administration is talking about how much the quantity of fentanyl or the precursors being stopped at the border and things like that. Now, I want to ask you for your opinion. What is more important, the chemicals itself or the people behind producing or trafficking those chemicals? And what has been the result in terms of, catching these people, holding them accountable?
Yeah, I'll let the commissioner of the RCMP and the president of the CBSA talk about number of arrests, et cetera, that they've caught. Those are their responsibilities, and they have the proper data to be able to explain that. It is a complex ecosystem with again, precursors, chemicals, as you properly described. And I will say voracious approach from an enforcement perspective, where those that are choosing to profit from death and despair are held to account. I've certainly been briefed on the number of operations, including one earlier in the winter that resulted in dozens. I'll have the number wrong, but I'm happy to give the committee the numbers from the coordinated and integrated response and organized crime. I think that's the name of CIROC. And that involves law enforcement officers from every organization in Canada, because this is a local issue and it's a global issue. And there were a number of arrests regarded to that and holding people to account.
Yes, again, I wanted to have the numbers of people that we caught or, we're going after. So with the commissioner, do you have the number of people?
If you're looking, Mr. President, if you're looking for the exact number of people who've been caught or arrested, I don't have those numbers with me. Sometimes they're charged with a certain offense, and there's plea bargaining, and they plead guilty to another offense. But if I go back to your initial question with what's more important, the precursors or the people, I think both of them have to be parallel inside, because the challenge with precursors are legal when they come in, and there's legislation that will allow Health Canada to shift more rapidly to make it illegal. And then the other side is obviously you want the people who are working on it. So I would say to that question, both of them are working in parallel. We are working very closely with the FBI and the DEA to identify key companies or individuals that are involved in either the shipping or the fabrication of fentanyl.
And how effective you have been?
Pardon me?
How effective you have been in terms of identifying those people?
Well, we have a couple that are going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we've been successful in a couple of files in the United States as well.
Okay, good. Now I'm going back to the Commissioner. So what systems are in place between your office and the U.S. agencies, such as DEA and the Border Patrol, to share information on fentanyl precursors?
Systems for information sharing, operational information sharing between those organizations exist between the organizations that are represented here, not my office in particular. My office, I work directly with the Canadian agencies to coordinate the liaison with the American agencies. So the information flows between, and Commissioner Duham and President O'Gorman can explain those processes.
Unfortunately, that may have to wait because we need to go to the next segment.